Sophia chose you. What you've been avoiding is now active. If those words land like a bell inside you, stop scrolling. Sit up. Breathe with intention. This is not a lecture about possibility. It is a precise notice. A selective activation has been directed at someone in your life space, and that someone is very likely you. There is a window open now. If you feel the weight of that sentence, stay with it. If you feel nothing, that is fine too. Observe without forcing interpretation. This recording will map what that selection looks like, give you a short, repeatable activation protocol you may perform if you consent, and show you how to hold the experience for 21 days. It will also name clear safety boundaries so you can decide responsibly. If anything in this piece begins to feel destabilizing, stop and seek professional support. This practice is optional and reversible. First, a quick map to orient you. Keep this simple. There are 3 core ideas you need to carry with you through the rest of the work: emerald potential, the 9-dimension map, and conditional alignment. Emerald potential is the phrase we use for a latent capacity in your subtle anatomy, an aspect of your patterning that, when activated, shifts how you perceive what you can notice and what you can do. Think of it as an unlit lattice inside your nervous system. When a particular set of conditions aligns, it can glow, not as magic that replaces your choices, but as a clarity that reveals new possibilities for attention and disciplined action. The 9-dimension map is a practical way to track that glow. These are 9 stations, simple anchors you can use to notice changes with less drama and more accuracy. You do not need to know metaphysics to use them. Treat them like checkpoints in a field guide for inner experience. Finally, conditional alignment is the logic that governs this moment. Certain small, decisive acts, done with consent within a compressed window, have multiplicative leverage on a pathway that is otherwise unlikely to self-catalyze. In plain language, a clear, consented act now matters more than a larger, half-hearted act later. If this mapping helps you see your experience, click the like button and subscribe so work like this can continue to be produced. That small action also helps you commit to the experiment of noticing. Before we go on, a safety reminder you will see again. This protocol does not replace medical, psychiatric, or legal care. If you have any medical or mental health condition, or you're in treatment, check with a professional before doing extended practices. If anything feels destabilizing or medically serious, stop. If at any time during this audio you feel extreme dizziness, chest pain, runaway anxiety, or anything that feels medically serious, stop immediately and seek emergency care. Consent and safety are primary. Do not perform any part of this if you do not mean it. Now, a practical quick check. I want you to look back over the last 6 months and treat what you notice like data. Nothing here is good or bad, just observable markers that sometimes appear when you're near an activation edge. First, notice if synchronicities have increased, meaningful coincidences stacking closer together than usual. People showing up twice in unexpected contexts, the same phrase repeating through different sources, symbols appearing in tight sequence, as if reality is tapping the same point again and again. Then ask yourself if you've experienced sudden knowing, those moments where clarity drops in fast and sharp, like an answer arriving with an urgency that feels bigger than the situation. Not wishful thinking, more like a direct internal signal that keeps insisting. Also, pay attention to your body. Some people report unexplained surges of energy, tremors, or waves of heat and cold across the torso. Sometimes it's a tightness that moves or shifts quickly without an obvious reason. Again, don't dramatize it. Just notice whether it's been happening. Another common marker is auditory change. Ear-ringing intermittent tinnitus, a faint tone, or even the sense that sounds are tinted differently. Sharper, clearer, strangely highlighted. Sleep can shift too. You might notice fragmented sleep, waking up with clear phrases or images, or a pattern of later night awakenings paired with early morning intensity, like your system is trying to deliver something while the world is quiet. And then there's the visual side, repeating numbers or recurring symbols, sequences on clocks, receipts, phone screens, or motifs appearing in dreams, things that stop you for half a second because they feel like they want to be recognized. Finally, there's one marker I want you to handle with extra care: the fear of losing the story, a low-level worry that your mind won't hold together, that things are rearranging and you're unsure how to stay anchored. If you've felt that, don't judge yourself, just log it as information. Now count how many of these signs you've noticed over the last 6 months. Just a number. And if you still have your phone, type a single digit into the comments now. Why count? Because practice must be testable. Pattern recognition is what makes spiritual work transferable into daily life. The count is not diagnostic. It is a way to clarify whether the conditional alignment is likely present and to give you a baseline for the 21-day tracking we'll set up. And if what I've described feels familiar, not dramatic, just quietly precise, write in the comments, clarity before force. Let us be clear about the language of selection. When we say, Sophia chose you, we are using Sophia as an archetypal coordinate, a symbolic term pointing to the crystallizing principle of wisdom. Names like Sophia, Tiafe, Isis are labels for processes rather than empirical beings in this context. Consider Sophia a metaphor for a chooser-like pattern influencing a threshold experience. Keep that frame in mind to avoid literalizing the language. Now, the piece of time that matters. There is often a compressed window, what we call a 72-hour portal, following a tipping cue in your life. During that window, a small, decisive act has disproportionate leverage in guiding how new potentials anchor. The 72-hour idea is not coercion. It is an observation about timing and momentum. If you are clear and consenting, a brief activation now can bias the system toward retention. If you choose not to act, nothing catastrophic happens. Life continues. But this particular momentum may pass, and you can always return later. Understand conditional alignment as conditional, not compulsory. Your consent matters. If you decide to proceed, you're asked to be mindful, grounded, and honest with yourself. Declaration. Speak aloud if you mean it. I accept the clarity offered. I hold it with care. Let the luminous pattern settle and guide my steady work. Say the line once, then again, then once more, each time with steady breath and steady attention. If saying the line aloud is not possible in your current situation, you may whisper it or speak it in your mind. But the recommendation for activation impact is to speak it clearly into the air. Now, prepare your body for the 3 grounding breaths. The pattern is simple and specific. Do not rush. Settle your body first. Sit with your feet flat on the floor, letting the weight of your body register fully. If sitting isn't possible, stand rooted instead, knees soft, balanced, stable. Place your hands wherever they feel most steady, resting on your thighs, your knees, or gently folded. Allow your spine to lengthen naturally, not rigid, just comfortably upright. Now bring your attention to the breath. Begin by drawing the inhale slowly into your lower belly. Let it expand first there, then widen into the ribs, and finally rise into the upper chest. Take 4 slow counts, if that feels accessible, then pause briefly, just long enough to notice the fullness. Release the breath smoothly and without effort. Let it flow out for a longer count, feeling the belly draw in, the ribs soften, the shoulders drop as tension releases downward. On the next inhale, guide the breath more clearly into the ribs and chest. Feel expansion, not only in the front of your body, but across the back as well. Pause again for a brief moment at the top. Then exhale slowly, letting the jaw loosen and the throat relax, as if the breath is carrying excess effort away. For the third breath, allow the inhale to reach the top of the lungs, a subtle lift through the collarbones, nothing forced. Pause just for an instant. And then release in a long, even exhale, imagining any remaining tension draining down through the soles of your feet and into the ground beneath you. If counting feels distracting, don't worry about numbers. Simply take 3 deep, full inhales that include the belly, followed by 3 long, intentional exhales. Keep the rhythm slow and steady. This 3-breath sequence will return once more after the visualization, helping your body integrate what follows. Before you visualize, a final pre-ritual consent check. If you feel faint, dizzy, or faintly detached, pause and take time. You may instead write the declaration in your journal and postpone the somatic activation until you are steadier. Safety first. When you're ready, bring your awareness gently to the crown of your head. Nothing forceful, just a light placement of attention. This visualization is brief, no more than a few minutes, and it stays grounded in physical sensation rather than abstraction. You'll move through a sequence of simple anchors, each marked by a single word. As you pass through them, speak the word softly to yourself, as if ringing a quiet bell. Begin with grounding. Imagine a narrow thread of emerald light descending from above, settling into the base of your spine. It's warm, steady, and precise. Feel the weight of your body supported beneath you, the sit bones resting, the legs steady. When that sensation lands, say the word root once and let it resonate. From there, let the attention travel upward into motion and breath. Allow the emerald thread to wave gently through your ribs, carried by the natural rhythm of your breathing. Notice the quality of the inhale and the release without trying to change it. When it feels present, say flow. Next, shift toward clarity. Let a subtle brightness appear behind the eyes. Not strain, not effort, just a clean, cool focus that sharpens perception slightly. No pressure. When it settles, say clarity. Then move inward to the center of your chest. This is not about emotion or intensity, but about steadiness, a quiet pulse of intention that holds without pushing. Rest there for a moment and say core. Bring your awareness now to the throat, where inside meets outside. Notice whether speech feels lighter here, not louder, not performative, just cleaner, less obstructed. When you sense that openness, say bridge. From the throat, expand your attention outward. Sense the space around your body, about an arm's length in every direction. Don't reach into it. Simply notice its texture and presence. When that field becomes perceptible, say field. Allow your awareness to organize gently now, as if small tiles of attention are aligning on their own. You don't need to solve anything or interpret patterns, just let coherence arise where it wants to. When that organizing sensation appears, say lattice. Then let the emerald quality soften and expand into warmth, a luminous, pleasant shimmer moving through the scalp and along the edges of your awareness. Not bright, not overwhelming, just alive. When it feels present, say light. Finally, bring the sequence to closure. Imagine an emerald band forming across your chest or around the sternum. Cool, precise, containing what needs to be held and releasing what doesn't. When that sense of completion arrives, say seal. As you move through the anchors, keep your eyes soft. If any station produces discomfort, back up one anchor and breathe until steady. You are allowed to stop at any time. After you complete the 9 anchors, return once more to the 3 grounding breaths. The belly inhale, the rib inhale, the collarbone inhale, then long release. This re-embeds the visual shift into your body. Now the sealing motion. Using your dominant hand, imagine drawing a clockwise band of emerald light across the front of your body in 3 small rotations, each rotation sealing a layer of integration. You may physically trace the motion with your hand over your sternum, moving clockwise 3 times, or you may simply visualize the clockwise emerald ring forming and tightening with each of the 3 turns. Make the movement slow and deliberate. Once the 3rd clockwise turn completes, rest your hand over your heart for a few breaths. Allow any sensation to settle. Take a moment to ground into ordinary tasks for 30 minutes. Make a cup of tea, wash your hands, step outside for a brief walk. This is part of the safety protocol. Stabilize in the ordinary world before assessing inner shifts. If you are feeling steady, open your journal and write the single-line tracking note for today. Date, sessions completed, 0123, one-word sign you noticed most strongly, and a one-line note of social friction, what small difficulty you encountered. For example, 2026, Ju2071, 1. Clarity, felt awkward telling a friend I needed space. Keep the format tight. The discipline of data will make subjective shifts legible over time. A clear retention plan is what turns a momentary shift into something stable. Without it, even strong experiences fade. That's why the structure here is intentionally simple and repeatable. 21 days of micro-practice spread across 3 short moments in the day. Nothing dramatic, just enough consistency to let change settle. Think of it as brief check-ins with your attention. One when you wake, one when energy naturally dips in the afternoon, and one before sleep. Each session can be as short as 3 to 5 minutes. You're not doing everything every time. You repeat your declaration once, take a single set of the 3 grounding breaths and sweep through only a few of the anchors, 3 at most. Micro habits outlast intensity. In the morning, right after waking, the practice is about orientation. 1 quiet declaration, the 3 grounding breaths, and a short sweep through anchors that help you arrive into the day, often grounding, movement, and clarity. It doesn't need to feel deep. It just needs to be consistent. Mid-afternoon is for recalibration. Attention tends to scatter here. A whispered declaration, or even a silent one, is enough. 1 set of the breaths, then a quick pass through anchors related to communication and relational awareness, whatever helps you re-enter the flow of the day without force. Before sleep, the tone shifts again. This session is slightly longer, still brief but slower. 1 declaration, a more spacious 3-breath set, and a gentle sweep through anchors that calm, contain, and close, those that help your system settle rather than activate. Alongside this, keep a daily journal entry, but keep it tight. 1 line only. Write the date, which sessions you completed that day, a single word describing the most noticeable sign, and 1 short note about social friction, some small moment where your inner shift met the outside world. This isn't for storytelling, it's for timestamps, data over drama. As the days pass, most people notice a predictable rhythm across the 3 weeks. In the first week, things often feel lighter. Clarity increases, coincidences stand out, and there's a sense of novelty. Meaning seems easier to access. Enjoy that, but don't chase it. Keep the practice small and steady. The second week is where resistance shows up. Old environments push back against new behaviors. Doubt, fatigue, or questions from others are common. This doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the practice is touching real life. Keep going, and make sure at least 1 small, ordinary action each day reflects your intent. Send an email, return a call, complete a task. The work must meet the world. By the 3rd week, sincerity gets tested. Habits, relationships, and routines apply pressure. This is where consent matters most. If something feels rushed or misaligned, pause. Check your notes. Adjust without abandoning the structure. Continue the daily journal. It's your anchor through this phase. A note on social ethics. Treat this work as private unless sharing feels genuinely safe and mutual. Avoid presenting your experience as proof or as something others should adopt. Integration happens quietly, through consistency, not through performance or persuasion. And if you're currently in therapy or taking medication, keep those supports exactly as they are. Do not change prescribed care without consulting your provider. This practice is meant to sit alongside professional support, not replace it. Before we pause, take a moment to set a simple reference point for yourself, something you can return to in the first week whenever reactions start to speed up. This isn't about self-judgment. It's about staying oriented. When something feels off, ask yourself first whether you've been sleeping enough. If rest has been compromised, let sleep take priority over any additional practice. Fatigue distorts perception faster than anything else. Next, check consistency rather than effort. Did you complete at least 2 short micro-sessions today? That matters more than how intense they felt. Steady contact beats overreaching. Then return to the basics. Are you eating, drinking water, and maintaining simple hygiene? If any of those have slipped, pause the practice and restore those foundations first. No inner work benefits from neglecting the body that carries it. Finally, look honestly at function. Is this practice helping you move closer to your real responsibilities, or is it quietly becoming a way to avoid them? If it's drifting into avoidance, scale back and consider talking with a counselor. Adjustment is not failure, it's discernment. When you notice any of these points, record them as a single-line note in your journal, following the same daily format. Keep it factual and brief. The goal is orientation, not analysis. And if you feel ready to continue now, return to the activation sequence exactly as it was given. Speak the declaration, no more than 3 times, then complete the 3-breath pattern. Move through the 9 anchors, or use a condensed version if time is limited, and finish with the 3 clockwise ceiling movements. After that, step fully back into ordinary life for at least 30 minutes. Do something simple and grounding. Only if you feel steady, write your first journal line. Let the practice land through action, not interpretation. If you do not wish to perform the activation now, simply write the single-line journal note marking that you listened and declined. Saying no is entirely valid. There is no moral penalty to declining. This work hinges on consent. Notice one more thing as you sit with this. Selection and activation do not remove work. If Sophia, used here as an archetypal metaphor, has favored a particular pattern in your attention, the ethical labor remains. You must choose how to use that clarity. Activation is a starting bias, not a completion certificate. The next phase after activation is integration, practical, often mundane work. Conversations, small tasks, boundaries, and habits that align with the sense of clarity. When the 72-hour portal begins to compress, you might feel a gentle nudge to commit to the 21-day plan. That nudge is not condemnation, it is information. If you decide to proceed, begin now. If you're unsure, give yourself a short, calm window to decide, then choose clearly. The conditional alignment principle rewards decisive, consented acts within a narrow window. You may also experience a mild spike of anxiety when this kind of spotlight falls on your life. That is common. Use the breathing pattern to stabilize. If you have a trusted person, friend, therapist, partner, consider telling them you may be doing short practices and ask for simple check-ins, a text that says, "How are you today?" Social scaffolding reduces the chance of misinterpretation. Before we close this segment, read this aloud or say it internally as a non-magical safety formula. This practice supports attention. It does not replace care. I will seek help for medical or psychiatric needs. Say it once, and let it land. This is not ritual rhetoric, it is practical boundary setting. Now gather what you will need for the next 72 hours. A small notebook or a notes app, a quiet pocket of time for morning, mid-afternoon, and night, and one mundane action you will perform daily to anchor change. Choose a small action, send a single follow-up email, clean one corner of your living area, call a relation you have been putting off. Keep it achievable. If you are doing the activation now and feel the beginnings of clarity, pause after the sealing motion and breathe. Don't jump into interpretive stories. Notice the color, texture, and weight of sensation. Label it in one word in your journal. Warmth, sudden stillness, pressure, lightness. If you notice nothing, write quiet. Both responses are valid data. The names we use, Sophia, teeth, Isis, aren't meant to be taken as literal claims. They're shorthand, handles for processes you can feel, wisdom that clarifies, pattern sense that notices, a guarding intelligence that keeps you steady. If those names help you hold the experience, use them. If they make you tense or lock into rigid belief, swap them for simple words. Chooser, recorder, guardian, and keep moving. We don't have to resolve every thread today. What matters is that you've received the sequence, and now you live it gently through ordinary days. In the sessions after this, we'll address what tends to happen when the novelty fades. The resistance in week 2, the pressure in week 3, the awkward social moments, and the simple ways to stay honest without turning this into drama. For now, hold it lightly. Treat your nervous system like something you protect, not something you push. If you did the activation today, give it one small anchor in the real world before you interpret anything. Fill a glass of water, wash your face, step outside, and take 20 calm breaths. Then come back and write your first line in your notes. If you chose not to activate, do the same kind of grounding, then take 5 minutes to write 2 things. The baseline number you counted earlier, and whether you want to observe yourself for the next 21 days. That alone is a valid beginning. So we pause here. You have the map, the markers, the words, the boundaries, and the simple plan that holds it in place. From here, the path asks for steadiness, not spectacle. Watch for the subtle tests. Don't judge them. Notice them. Keep the record. Keep your commitments small, real, and present. When you're ready, close your eyes for a breath or two and say quietly, only if you mean it, I hold this with care. Then open your eyes and return to the next ordinary task. And as you move forward, remember, integration is not a ceremony. It's what happens when life notices you've shifted. Someone asks a question. A routine gets disrupted. A moment feels inconvenient. That's not a failure. That's the practice entering the world. If someone you trust asks what you're doing, you don't need a speech. You can say simply, I'm doing a short attention practice for a few weeks. If someone presses you to explain or prove it, you can protect what's private. I'm tracking it quietly right now. One sentence is enough. Presence matters more than persuasion. And when your body gets keyed up, when you feel jittery, rushed, or overstimulated, don't analyze. Name one sensation. Take 2 slow breaths, longer on the exhale. Change posture. Touch something ordinary. Let the system settle. If the intensity doesn't ease, pause the practice for the day and reach out to a trusted support or a professional. Safety is not a side note. It's the container. On days when you can't sit down and do a full session, keep it simple. A short walk, 3 steady breaths, and a few anchor words in your mind. Root, flow, clarity. Then a quiet, sealing hand over the sternum. Continuity matters more than length. If sleep gets strange, vivid dreams, fragmented rest, soften the evening. 1 breath into the ribs, 1 hand over the chest, and the phrase, I hold this with care. Then let everything dim. No chasing meaning at midnight. Rest first. And if you want to keep this grounded and testable, don't write essays. Keep your notes tight. The date, what you did, 1 word you noticed most, and 1 simple number from 1 to 5 for how steady you felt. That's enough to see a pattern without turning your life into a performance. When friction arrives, friends, partners, colleagues who either minimize or amplify your experience, use specific behavioral scaffolds. If someone tests your sincerity, respond with one of the following non-defensive pivots. I'm practicing consistency, not persuasion. Or, this is an experiment I'm tracking. I can share data later if that's useful. Keep your responses as short as you hope others will keep theirs. If the interaction becomes emotionally costly, take a 5-minute break, do the grounding breath set, and return only if you feel ready. Now some deeper troubleshooting categories and direct steps to take in each case. These are practical algorithms rather than interpretations. If you feel dissociated, fuzzy, or like you're watching from outside your body, stop the practice immediately. Sit with both feet on the floor, place a textured object in your hands, a coin, a stone. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. Call a friend or your clinician to let them know you experienced a dissociation episode. Reduce practice to journaling only until you regain steadiness. If you experience intensifying panic or persistent anxiety, do not double down. Pause the ritual work. Prioritize sleep hygiene, hydration, and slow movement. If panic feels unmanageable or accompanied by chest pain, crushing pressure, fainting, or loss of coordination, seek emergency medical help. Document the incident in your journal immediately afterward with timestamp and brief notes on what preceded it. If the activation seems to create interpersonal turbulence, arguments, boundary breaching by others, or sudden role changes, apply the one small real-world action protocol. Pick one mundane act each day that anchors you to tangible results. Clear one inbox thread, return one call, clean one small area, or follow up on one administrative item. The goal is to prevent internal shifts from becoming escapist abstractions. Continue to journal these acts as social friction notes, one-line and factual. If you notice physical signals like heart palpitations, persistent tremor, brief fainting spells, or new severe headaches, stop practice, contact your healthcare provider, and consider emergency care if symptoms are acute. You must keep medical oversight active. The activation is an internal attention protocol, not a somatic cure-all. Do not alter medication or therapy without professional guidance. A practical troubleshooting mini checklist you can run in the moment is useful to memorize. Are you rested? Are you fed and hydrated? Have you kept normal medical regimens? Are you in usual social support? If any answer is negative, prioritize restorative care before continuing ritual work. As you continue, you can gently expand the journaling practice for days when free writing feels heavy or intimidating. Think of this as a rotating set of lenses rather than assignments. Each day you choose just one angle of attention in addition to the simple data line you're already keeping. Some days the focus might be sensory. What single physical sensation stood out most clearly? Other days it might be attentional. When did your focus feel most intact, even briefly? You may notice moments when a small, ordinary action felt aligned with the clarity you're cultivating, or moments when you resisted saying something that felt true. At times, what matters most is what you avoided, and why. On other days, it may be worth noticing something gentler, a small kindness someone offered you, or a quiet boundary you upheld without drama. You might track repeating symbols that return during the day, or capture a dream in the most minimal way possible. Just one image, nothing more. There will be days when your body speaks first. You might note a moment of breathlessness and what preceded it, or what your body asked you to do, and whether you listened. Some entries will center on sincerity, when you felt tested, or when restraint felt like the right choice. Others may point forward, something you didn't do but can commit to tomorrow, or a habit you sense you'd like to keep after the 21 days are complete. You may also use the journal to register social friction, what interaction felt most real or challenging, or to ground yourself by noting something entirely ordinary you did that day. A task completed, a space cleaned, a responsibility met. Even patience itself can become a data point. What it taught you today in practice rather than theory. Rotate through these prompts intuitively. One line is enough. The goal isn't eloquence or self-analysis. It's to create reliable, time-stamped traces of change that you can look back on without distortion. For those who want additional structure, there are optional membership and support offerings available. These typically include weekly live attunements that are recorded, a small set of short guided micro-practices delivered each week, and moderated integration spaces with clear community boundaries. Some also offer limited one-on-one sessions focused on coaching rather than medical or psychiatric care. If you consider paid accompaniment, be clear about what's included before committing. These structures exist to support discipline and peer accountability, not to offer metaphysical guarantees or replace professional care. Participation is entirely optional, and if you do engage, continue any existing therapy or medical treatment as usual. A note about language and metaphor as you move forward. Names like Sophia, Tace, and Isis function as shorthand for processes, chooser, pattern recorder, guardian attunement. Use them if they help you hold the shape of the work. If you find names encouraging rigid belief, translate them into neutral terms for your own use. The practice is about attention and habit, not about proving spiritual ontology. Approach the third week with a plan for consolidation. Day 22 is not a dramatic coronation, it is an administrative checkpoint. On day 22, you will perform a brief consolidation sequence and a witness act. The consolidation sequence is short. Morning declaration once, 3 grounding breaths, a sweep through the 3 anchors that felt most stabilizing for you across the previous weeks. Choose those anchors deliberately, and a single clockwise sealing motion across the sternum. After this 60-second consolidation, perform a 1-minute real-world action that embodies the clarity. Send a concise message you have been delaying, file a document, tidy a corner, then create or record a 1-line witness. It can be public or private. You can type 1 sentence in the video's comments if you are comfortable with the format Day 22, 1-word sign, 1-line action, or record an audio note to yourself and save it for review on day 60. The public option is for those who wish to testify. The private audio note is for those who prefer an internal archive. If you choose the public witness, use a single-line formula to protect privacy and avoid performance. Day 22, clarity, sent the email. If you prefer the private record, label the audio with the date and 1 keyword, then store it where you will likely replay it. Listening back at day 60 can be useful for measuring retention. Now, practical scripts to respond to common social scenarios, phrases you can memorize and lean on to preserve attention without over-explaining. If someone asks you to explain what you did, I practiced attention for a few weeks. It helped me notice patterns. I'm not seeking to convert anyone. It was personal. If a friend says your behavior is acting spiritual, I appreciate your perspective. Right now I'm testing habits to see what helps me focus more clearly. If a partner is worried you're withdrawing, I'm practicing something short each day that can change my pace. I want to keep our communication open. Can we set a check-in time this week? If a colleague asks whether this is religious, it's a practical attention practice with symbolic language. It doesn't require adherence to belief. If a family member wants proof, I prefer to show timelines and small actions rather than make claims. If you're curious, I can share a few 1-line entries. Practice these phrases once or twice so they feel natural. The goal is to reduce drama and preserve ordinary coordination. A short plan for weeks 2 and 3 if you hit a performance plateau. If by day 10 you find the practice is slipping, do the following reset. Reduce session length by half for 3 days, increase morning microaction to 2 small tasks, and eliminate any optional community engagement for 1 week. Then resume full cadence, noting coherence scores. If slipping continues, consult a coach or therapist to review alignment with broader life responsibilities. On the subject of ethics and influence, never use ritual wording to pressure someone into action. This work depends on your integrity. If you notice temptation to present the activation as a quick fix for others, pause and reassess motives. Repair by offering neutral resources and inviting people to test their experience independently, never by imposing your process. You will likely encounter moments of doubt. Was this real, or did I imagine that? Use the data method. Return to your journal, examine the coherence scores, and look for clusters of change. Singular dramatic experiences are less useful than patterns over time. Celebrate small, ordinary consistency. A practical note about time windows. If you chose not to act within the 72-hour window, that does not brand you as having failed. The conditional alignment principle simply notes that certain acts have greater leverage earlier. If you pass the first window, opportunities will arise again, though not necessarily identical. You can reinitiate the 21-day plan at any later point. Treat the initial activation as an acceleration, not an irreversible commitment. There will be days when time is tight. For those moments, it helps to have a few minimalist variations you can rely on. Short, repeatable practices that preserve the core structure without demanding space or privacy. One option is a very brief sweep. You speak the declaration once, take a single set of the 3 grounding breaths, and name just 2 anchors aloud, root and seal. Then place a hand over the sternum for a moment and log the session with a single word in your journal. 2 minutes is enough. Another variation works well when you're in transit. During a commute, you can whisper the declaration or say it silently. Take 3 quiet breaths where you're seated and repeat the word flow internally a few times. When you arrive, complete the sequence with a simple sealing gesture, hand over the heart, 1 slow breath, and move on with your day. There's also a tactile option for moments when attention feels scattered. Choose a textured object, a coin, a stone, a piece of fabric, and rub it slowly between your palms for about a minute. As you do, whisper the phrase, "I hold this with care." No anchors are required here. When you're done, make a brief note that the session happened. That's enough to keep continuity. All of these variations keep the same skeleton intact. Declaration, breath, anchor, seal, just compressed. They're not replacements for longer sessions, but they make the habit sustainable when life constricts. Before we close, one practical note. If at any point you decide to consult a support person or clinician about this work, bring concrete information rather than interpretations. A simple timeline of when things began, your daily coherence scores, 1-line notes about social friction, and brief descriptions of any acute symptoms are usually sufficient. These objective details make conversations clearer and more useful, especially in clinical settings. As the 21-day curve flattens into routine, prioritize the small acts that anchor you to responsibility. The practice is not about a final metaphysical proof. It is an infrastructure for seeing and choosing differently. You will be tempted to treat a dramatic moment as evidence. Instead, treat steady, modest acts as evidence. 1 email sent, 1 boundary upheld, 1 morning noted. The activation you chose to accept, remember this language is metaphorical, offers a bias toward attention. The real test is whether you can bring that new attention into ordinary, accountable life. When day 21 completes and you approach day 22, engage the consolidation as described earlier. After the consolidation, pause for 1 minute of quiet and then take your 1-minute real-world act. Record the witness. If you post publicly, keep it 1 line. If privately, save the audio file for later reflection. A final ethical and practical reminder: consent remains central. You were invited to participate. If at any point you no longer wish to continue, you may stop. Write, once more, a one-line note marking your choice. The practice is expressly reversible. Take one full breath now. If you mean this, say silently or aloud, "I hold this with care." Let the words settle into your posture. Move to whatever immediate small task you chose earlier. Fill a glass, step outside, send that message. Integration lives in these ordinary follow-throughs. Sophia chose you. What you've been avoiding is now active. If that sentence still lands, let the clarity inform one small responsible act today. If you stayed until the end, mark this moment by writing in the comments, "I'll work with what's been revealed." I've placed another lesson on your screen now, your next step in integration. Thank you for staying with this, and I'll see you in the next video.